So I've been recently learning about this concept called Purusharthas from Hinduistic thought that I think is really important and I want to share. It's composed of four ideas, and Purusharthas is sort of like the way of life or the objectives of life. It's similar to the idea of Ikigai from Japanese thought, if you heard of that. So it's composed of Moksha, Dharma, Artha, and Kama. And I'll talk about it from what is, in my opinion, the most important or the layer of priorities. And essentially, once you understand these concepts, you could just organize your day in a way that aligns with the Purusharthas. So it's almost like finding a daily routine based on spiritual concepts. Um, and I really like it actually. I think it makes a lot of sense. And it's really smart. Moksha refers to like liberation and like sort of like spiritual activities, and I think this is the most important because what I think moksha really is, it's a way to manage your state of being, like your emotional well-being, your nervous system well-being, what have you. Essentially, the activities you do in moksha help you find yourself, find your seat, find your truth. So these are things like meditation, could be yoga, exercise, polyvagal exercises, like ho'onopono, like a plethora of like things that you could do to help you like feel your feelings, essentially. I feel like this is what it really is. It's like doing things that like allows you to come back to the real you. The real you emerges when all the feelings and thoughts that you've neglected to process gets processed. Then naturally who you are just comes through. And I say this is the most important because if you don't have a way to like regulate yourself back into like who you really are, like you're not just in flight or flight and you're anxious and everything you do is just this like traumatic fear-based survival tactic, like you're not going to be able to know what your dharma is, and then everything else you do is sort of just coming from this fear-based core, and it doesn't really help you or anybody. So I find if you're able to do your moksha properly and you do your spiritual activities or your state management, emotional regulation activities properly, and you get yourself back into your seat, into your throne, then everything that you need to do from then onwards becomes a lot clearer. The next one that I find is the most important is Dharma. And I talk about this a lot and I think it's really important, but at the same time, I realize I've neglected the other two, or another one in the past. But I do think Dharma is really important because essentially what I see Dharma as, it's like your divine gift to your world. It's like the essence of you that makes you that you discover through moksha. You find that energy and then you like transmute that or you express that energy into the world. It's your art essentially, like your highest form of art of what you can as your current expression of God in this reality, like how that translates into some sort of service or product or some sort of expression into this world, right? Like essentially a transference of the godlike energy through you into this world, like in the purest, most efficient, powerful, unfiltered, or unobstructed way possible. In my opinion, that's Dharma. So obviously this could be anything. This could literally be anything, Maybe you want to be an actor, a singer, an entrepreneur, a mother, a vending machine engineer, like who knows, right? Literally whatever like gets you off. Like it could be the most weird, obscure thing ever, the most non-mainstream thing ever, or the most mainstream thing ever. You just want to be a doctor, you want to be an astronaut, like whatever that thing is, or multiple things, you want to be a multi-talented, astronaut, Iron Man, philanthropist, hunter-gatherer, gynecologist, right? Like whatever floats your boat. Like it doesn't really matter what it is. Like as long as it feels true to you and it's coming from your truth and your heart, that you can only find, in my opinion, through doing moksha activities, which is, the spiritual state management, emotional regulation, feel your feeling activities. And again, it's like, I think spiritual texts would say, oh, these things need to align with some sort of value in terms of like, it's doing good in the world, or their judgment or their idea of what good is. But in my opinion, what is good or bad is completely subjective, and it's all human bias and judgment. So what your dharma is could seem completely like despicable to someone else, and vice versa, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It's like the judgment aspect, in my opinion, doesn't matter. Like, as long as it feels genuinely true to you and it's not an ego thing or some sort of like revenge or trauma or fear thing, and it's genuinely what you feel from your moksha, then that's your dharma. No matter what it is, that's your dharma. You need to do that thing. Even if people think it's weird or bad or whatever, like, if it feels true to you, it's God. God. I'm scared to say these things, so I feel like it's so triggering for some people. But that's what I believe. Literally, it could be anything. Anything goes. No matter how any human being judges us, if it feels like it's coming from the essence of God, from your core, from your heart, from your truth, that is your dharma. And that's the thing you need to do. Now, the next thing to support this whole process of Purusharthas is Artha. And this is the thing I feel like I severely neglected in the past, because I thought if I full set my dharma, everything will be taken care of. And while I still believe that, I think I believed it too much to the point I was actually neglecting aspects of me where I felt like I actually wanted to do Artha, but it felt like almost impure in a way and a distraction from Dharma. But now I realize it actually goes along with it, especially since I felt it intuitively. So what is Artha? Artha is things you do to make money. Like, essentially, it's your day job. Like, if your Dharma, let's just make it an easier example. Like, let's say you want to be a singer, right? You want to be a musician, right? Like, sing the best songs, the most heart-opening songs in the world that just, like, moves people, and it like, just transcends them instantly when they listen to your music, or, or, whatever effect you want to give. And yeah, you're making your songs, you're learning how to sing, you're learning how to play instruments, right? Maybe you're not making triple platinum, Grammy-winning albums yet where you're making tons of money. So what do you do in the meantime? Well, you get a part-time job, maybe, right? Maybe you work at a music store or what have you. Or say, you are making music, and then you figure out a way to, like, market yourself, and you put a price on your music, and you sell your music, and you make money. Maybe you put it on YouTube, you get ad revenue, or who knows, right? It's like the strategic commercial ways of thinking to implement in order for you to make enough money to survive, to feel your dharma. But again, the artha has to be done in a way that's supported by your moksha. Like, if you just make money doing, like, random shit that you hate, that makes no sense to you because you're like, oh, I have to make money, then I feel like that's not the right thing for you to do. I think everyone needs an aspect of artha, to make money, for sure, but it still has to be within the boundaries of your moksha, of your values and your truth. If you go outside of that, if you violate yourself essentially to make money, if you prostitute yourself to make money, to do artha because you think you have to do that in order to do other things, I think, no, that's already fucked. Like, when you do that, you're dysregulating your emotions and your state, and then you have to spend more time trying to re-regulate that, and it kind of screws up the whole equation, in my opinion. So if you are gonna do artha, again, make sure it's done through a state of moksha. You do your moksha activities, you feel your feelings, you find your truth, and then the artha that is actually relevant for you becomes much more clear. And I think artha is the thing that modern society is obsessed with. They're obsessed with just making money and surviving, even if they hate their job and it's bad for their health and everything else. And I think that's what ultimately fucks up the world. It's because they don't consider the other aspects of, moksha, dharma, and kama. So Artha, while it is important, I think in terms of like modern society, it's overdone and improperly done, which is causing a lot of problems in the modern day. Okay, and the final one is kama, not karma with an R, but without the R, kama. And this is essentially play. Like Artha is like work, you can say. Dharma and Artha can both be work. I mean, they all sort of combine depending on how you play your game, but I'll talk about that later. Kama is essentially play. And again, anything goes, right? What is play to you? What is fun to you? Could be literally anything. Like, going to the movies, going for a swim, hanging out with your loved ones, going for like extreme overly sexualized BDSM orgies. Like, if that is genuinely your kama, your play, that is your play. Like, there is no limit to what it is, as long as it's governed by your moksha. That's why I say moksha is the most important thing, because it gives you a code of conduct. Like, it lets you find your core and your integrity and your truth. And so then everything else you do around that, as long as you can feel into that core, it's fair game. The moment you disconnect from that and you forget about it and you start doing things that like violates that core, that's when things start getting really fucked. So certainly not anything that involves like addictions or numbing. Like kama, like if it becomes a thing because you're overdoing your artha to the point you're violating your moksha and you have no semblance of your dharma, so you feel like you have no purpose in this world and you're just a vegetable doing the same thing over and over again, with no purpose, and you're filled with this sense of nihilism because you don't feel your truth, because you don't do moksha activities such as feeling your feelings and regulating your emotions, your nervous system. You start doing these things to numb the pain, right? I don't know, porn, gambling, video games, like, actually, it doesn't really matter. I can say anything. Then that's not kama, all right? That's not the kama I'm talking about. Like, you could do porn, you could do video games, you could do gambling, if it's within the confines of your moksha. Like, you genuinely enjoy these things, and you're not doing it because you're trying to escape from something, or you're trying to numb some pain that you're having because you violated yourself, then it's fair game. It's completely cool with me. It's completely cool with me. You can do whatever the fuck you want that fills you with joy. It could be the most fucked up things that people can judge you as, but as long as it's coming from your truth, it's tethered to your balls, to your core, to your heart, then it's fair game. So that's kama. And in my opinion, like, again, sometimes you have to have kama in order to know what your dharma is. It's like sometimes the thing that you offer to the world is like the thing you enjoy doing the most. Like, of course, right? So if you don't have an idea of what that is, or what feels good for you, then you might not be able to feel dharma. But then you're not going to be able to access kama, I find, if you don't have a sense of moksha within you. Because if you're not, like, if your nervous system isn't really regulated, it's like you're not really able to fully enjoy yourself or know what it is you really want to play with. Yes, and you may have already seen this, but eventually these things all sort of correlate. Like, your moksha, your dharma, your artha, and your kama could all be completely integrated into one activity. Let's say you're a meditation teacher and you're meditating every day, or you're doing meditation classes, right? So you're automatically, in a way, doing your moksha because you're doing that through meditation. Maybe you also do a bit of exercise or some yoga on the side to just help fully regulate your body and your emotions inside of you, right? And then your dharma is like, yeah, genuinely, you're offering your service as a meditation teacher to the world, and it's helping people, and it feels really fulfilling to you, and you're like, yeah, this is my thing, and it's really good. And because you're doing classes, let's say at a yoga studio or whatever, and people are paying you, you're getting paid enough to do it in order to survive, then yeah, your artha is also taken care of. And at the same time, if meditation makes you genuinely feel good, because it can. It's like the thing that if you do, it just makes you feel the best. Like you don't need video games or whatever, but just if you meditate and you get into that pure state of meditation, and it just feels awesome, which it certainly can. That's also your karma. Like that's your play, right? Then being meditation is like you're fulfilling all four Purusharthas perfectly, and it's like, boom, you're like the Grand Prix golden child exhibit A of like divine spiritual being guru in this world. Oh, actually, you're right. When karma and dharma combine, I feel like that is the most ideal activity for you to do in the world. Not only is it just genuinely fun for you to do, but it literally feels like your divine gift, your complete pure essence that you're trying to express into this world. But yeah, I mean, some people, maybe it's like they have a 9 to 5, right? They have a full-time job, but then in the free time, they spend time doing their art, right? Their dharma. And then they also, maybe they watch Netflix, their karma, right? And sometimes it's like, yeah, I think everyone, again, will have a different ratio of how much they do each of these things and how much each of these things, each of the Purusharthas combine with each other. Some might be like very segregated into their own sections and they just do it throughout the day. Like this is my Moksha thing in the morning where I maybe I chant, I meditate, I do yoga, or I go for a run or whatever. And that helps me find myself. And then during the day, I do my Artha thing of going to a job doing 9 to 5, which is cool. And then afterwards, I might do my Dharma thing of like, I don't know, maybe I'm making some music, or I'm working on my art, I'm doing my paintings, or I'm creating something, I'm creating my own business on the side, that I think is I'm selling a really cool product that's gonna save the world, or just feels right for you. Right, doesn't need to like overtly try to save the world at all. And then yeah, maybe okay, at the end of the day I'm gonna unwind with like some Netflix or anime, or hang out with my partner or something, And that could be a very, you could still be fulfilling completely the Purusharthas, but everything is sort of segregated in its own organized time structures. And then also the idea of karma, of like play, like pleasure as like a genuinely important integral part of the spiritual process. It's like so fun, it's like so good, like it's so lighthearted. It's not like you're just like this like absolutely over disciplined monk of like meditating 10 hours a day, and at any time you have a semblance of sin. But what they consider sin, you're whipping yourself in the back and like creating gashes of blood, on your skin. Like, no, like, in my honest opinion, you could do every fucking sin in the book if you wanted to, as long as that activity, every activity is equal. There isn't a bad or worse or better activity. As long as that activity aligns with your sense of moksha, your sense of like truth, then just do it. Like there's no need to feel guilty about doing what you genuinely want to do.